Alrighty, so as we know, last week was an eventful week for sure. We had a meeting between our second officer and her father. That was um, certainly a happenstance, as it turns out that our lovable second officer Lawson is a pedigree of the Troys. And seeing his daughter's distress and deciding that, as a father should, he is the only one in the universe who can handle that. He's decided to drop what he's doing and, well, come a flying, or in this case, a warping. Uh, that being said, the captain's uh, recovery has been going strong. Um, She was greeted to consciousness by her daughter and by, well, Commander Arif, who's decided to have a bit of a layover. And lastly, we have, well, almost lastly, we have Carrie, who's decided or who has agreed to help Arif in his favor, which is basically uh, figure out the premise and start designing and creating, well, the first generation of the what could hopefully someday become the mobile emitter. And well, lastly, we have Desesh, uh, who, well, quite frankly, has been a little bit of a kid in the candy store. As he, well, I wouldn't be surprised if when Captain Morgana gets back to her ready room, she'll have to readjust her chair. As he's had quite a bit of time, or quite a bit of fun, having being captain for a day, as it were, until it was time to head to the Bahara and meet and treat with the Bahara. And as he did, and brought Lawson and Akiri, um, I believe. Let me double check. Um, I am vamping because I forgot the other Bajoran's name momentarily, but Jaro. Um, all of them went down to Bahara, sorry, even I'm getting screwed up here, where they were eventually led to a sacred room, and the Sesh and company was shown, well, what appeared to be a tier of the prophets, or it would have been if it wasn't colored red. And having opened that arc and receiving, um, I hesitate to put any sort of actual slant on it, but a vision for his troubles, that's where we ended things. And where we're gonna start things off is pretty much as opposite as we can get from there. So we're gonna start things off in the main sick bay of the the Nightingale. And I truly apologize. I don't um actually have a map for this just yet, but a couple minutes ago, as everyone was kind of being led through the sanctum, we're almost starting at sick bay, but at Vanderveers, you get a communique from Commander Arif as you're kind of walking along through this mazeway.
What you got, Commander?
Doctor, well, I was hoping I could speak with you for a moment. I'm not 100% sure how busy you are down there, but I was hoping we could um, confer, actually. Well, about Captain Morgana. Preferably sooner rather than later, if that's okay. It's a little time sensitive.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, doctor. Are you in the middle of anything pressing? Can I transport you up now?
Sure.
Oh, look at that, a man that continues to help. And actually, as you as you continue to hear Arif's praise of you, through the combat, you can see that the world around you, Bahara, is starting to sprinkle into non-existence. And as the rest of the away team start to disappear, so do the walls, so does the floor, so does the ceiling, as they're simply to be replaced by um well, the walls, ceiling, and floor that you know so well of the Nightingale's main sick bay. And you can see Morgana lying on the bed. The the readings seem pretty kosher, pretty good. Kasara is there, per usual, kind of perched over her, and Arif simply standing in the middle of the sick bay.
He's just gonna walk up as Reef waits for him to greet him. He's gonna gesture, palms up, like what?
Ah, doctor. Once again, I do appreciate it. Listen, doctor, I know I said this is time sensitive, and well, quite frankly, I believe it is. I was hoping I could get a bit of a sit rep on your patient because, well, I know she's just been through a bit, but, well, if at all possible, I I need to know how well she can move around.
How well she can move around. Well, that I can't make a determination on. I can say that she can probably move around a little bit. Can she move around to 100% function? No.
Can she be well, I suppose I phrased it badly. Can she be moved around? Can she stand?
Yes. In fact, I was just getting ready to get her out of my sick bay.
Nodding a little bit, Arif says, "Doctor, I planning a well, I'll be honest. Actually, doctor, perhaps uh and he thinks for a second. In with a little bit of a grin, he says, I don't suppose if you scan me while I'm talking to you, that'll give us doctor-patient confidentiality, will it?"
In terms of your medical state, yes, but not in terms of anything we discuss.
Smiling a bit, he says, "An excellent answer. Well, in which case I'll just have to risk it. I'm planning a bit of surprise for your captain, and well, I think to get it done, well, I think it'll take some courses of actions that she'll probably be pretty reluctant to be willing to undergo, and you've been such a help and a comfort to her so far. Um, I was hoping that you could, well, come with us. I think it might put her a little more at ease. Unless you have something pressing here, that is.
You want me to kick a patient out of my recovery so I can babysit them on a adventure?
Well, I'll be going too, he says with a bit of a smile and an upraised eyebrow.
That's correct, but you didn't just have a major surgery. Sure, why not?
Well, in which case, doctor, once again, you make my and as Arif continues to not to lay praise on you for um another couple moments. I'm actually gonna shift over to the perspective of Captain Morgana, who is starting to hear kind of in the deep recesses of her consciousness. She's starting to kind of hear, and while she can't understand the words, she can kind of start to grasp that the voices are coming from both the Reef and Vanderveer. One voice she's known well for a while, and one voice she's had occasion to, well, get to know quite well. And as the fog starts to lift and the words start to have some meaning, um, you start to open your you start to open your eyes. You can see Arif and Vanderveer down further down in the room, but you can see the smiling face of your daughter in front of you, looking concerned as you hear her softly say, "Mommy, Mom,
Yes, yeah,
are you okay?"
uh, yeah. She rubbed her eyes. I'm fine. I was just not sleepy.
Um, can I get you anything?
Uh, Coffee.
Oh, of course. And as she kind of rushes over, Arif, and the doctor kind of take notice as she comes back and hands you the cup and says, "Drink up because, well, quite frankly, it's going to be, I think, a great day for you. I've got good news and, well, quite frankly, great news."
Oh, oh, right, man. She just, instead of chastising her daughter, she just gives a smile, holds up a finger, and starts trying to drink the coffee.
Um, do you need help? She says, concerned.
No, no, I'm fine. Uh, oh, right. She just drinks more coffee.
Yep,
That's gonna be her default for
well,
is coffee cup to the lips.
that's fair. And giving you your time to kind of wake up and lose the lose the sleepies, as it were. Um, she finds this, and like I said, I think it's going to be a good day for you after all. Uh, you're getting discharged. Looks like all the readings are coming out great.
Oh, good. Oh,
I mean, and then there's one more piece of great news.
okay.
Um, and as she says, exaggeratingly sweetly, she says, as as a reward for being such a good patient, you get to go on to a small little field trip with Daddy.
Um, he just kind of. uh, She looks up at Vanderveer's like, "Oh God, what have I done to you?"
Now, just so that I have a chance to rain on Mr. Parade here, I'm not going to say things look great. I'm just going to say the recovery is on track, and he wanted you to go do something and asked if you could, which is up to you. You might have a little bit of swelling. We can give you a local steroid for that. That should reduce that. You won't be in any large amounts of pain after this portion, but you may notice just a little bit of stiffness or a dull ache.
And don't worry, Doctor. She'll be going, Kisara says.
Mm. Right. Probably it for me to argue with Romulan. She says,
Advice you should remember, Doctor, Kisara says with a bit of a gleam in her eye as she looks up.
"She did not get it from me, Doctor, I assure you."
Well, that's fine. It's your choice if you want to go. I'm just saying, y'all can't stay here.
No, that's fine. She'll go to kind of slowly swing her legs over.
As Kisara almost instinctually moves out of the way, a little bit away from you, Arif comes in to kind of help you off the bed, and as he says, and I hope you don't have to worry, especially because, well, quite frankly, I think we've seen Dr. Vanderveer at work and how great he is, and he's graciously offered to come with us and escort you just in case anything were to go wrong.
Mm. My only question is, how can you focus with all that around?
It helps deflect the light. Old warriors and sports players used to do the same thing.
He just shakes her head. Right. Well, I should probably go get changed. Right. Uh, and she'll slowly, after I guess signing whatever pad she has to, start heading towards her. Yeah.
And with that, we'll take it. Oh shit!
Congratulations.
Sorry. As I go,
Lots to solve.
as I go pick up my keyboard, which is now across the room, um, we will head down to Bahara, where um, you know what? We no longer have a VDV there, but we do have everyone else. We've got a Jaro, we've got a Hakuri, we've got a Jill, we've got a Disesh, and we've got a Molly as the four of you, well, three of you have just witnessed Disesh go through an orb experience. Probably something best done privately, but oh well. Things happen differently here apparently. And as Disesh, you kind of pop out of it. I'm gonna stop talking.
Jill is right behind him with a hand on his shoulder.
He actually like stumbles a little bit as he comes out of it, and when Jill puts her hand on his shoulder, he kind of like freaks out, and for a moment he looks at you like he doesn't recognize you, kind of staring straight into your eyes, and he kind of like puts his back up against the wall, and he seems to be kind of breathing heavily.
Still with hand on his shoulder, she's staring right back at him.
He seems
You
to
saw
like.
what I saw, didn't you?
Sorry, go ahead.
You saw what I saw, didn't you?
He nods. I need a moment, Jill. Can you take over?
She'll slowly nod and let go. This is a little weird. Okay.
He should be
She'll
alright.
step back and go ahead.
Disesh just like has his head in his hands for a moment. Is just trying to compose his thoughts.
He should be no. It's not picking up. Sorry,
Kiana
give
will go over also and try to help him as he's coming out of the orb experience.
Jaro just kind of looks at them and says he just needs time to process. Just she says kind of like trying to like not forcefully stop Hikori, but like holding a hand up like give him a moment. And she'll kind of say to the lieutenant commander, he saw something very profound. He just needs a moment, Lieutenant Commander.
And as far as her curry going up to Disesh, Lawson will just kind of hold her back just a second. It's like, just keep an eye on him. If anything goes weird, then do what you think you need to do. But just like she said, give him a minute.
Disesh makes eye contact with Jaro and just for a moment says, "Was it just me?"
The non. It was. Yeah. Yeah. She nods. She says,
That makes sense, given what I saw.
she will not.
And through all of this, the Kai is simply standing back at a bit of a respectful distance, just looking pleasantly. Like this is something that happens a dozen times a day.
Yeah, Jaro has seen reactions similar to this for experiences. Hers was very similar to this.
Doctor, can I talk to you for a moment?
Yes. What
I
is
do
it?
want you to check. Can you do a scan?
Yes, that's what I was going to do.
Why don't you give me so I guess first things first, the question I have is, are you going to try to do this kind of discreetly, or are you just gonna basically whip out the tricorder in the middle of this room and kind of give him a once over?
I'm not gonna do it discreetly. I'm going to check on my crewmate.
Fair enough. And as you take out the scanning device, why don't you give me a let's go with either control science or control engineering. Difficulty, let's go with difficulty 1.
Yeah. All right, xenobiology for the focus. Sound good?
You know what? Disesh is an alien, so yes.
Okay.
I know that's not the necessity.
All right.
Okay.
the
Yeah.
park, over the fence.
Okay. I said difficulty 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that is good things coming. Okay. First things first. Obviously, Sesh's orb experience kind of pelted into number 3 a little bit. And look at this. The first roll of the night produces 3 momentum. So all I gotta say is creepy time. The math is with us, and we'll let the prophets guide us as we continue. And as you, Akiri, um, pull out your tricorder and run it over the sesh, you realize that typically, I'm gonna say that there's been enough kind of scientific study with these orbs over the years, certainly since Starfleet has learned of their existence. Most of the research founded, as we know, by Jadzia Dax and continued by some of the brightest minds. However, um, there's been enough of that study to kind of know inherently that when someone, be it a Bajoran, uh, Kelpian, a Nausicaan, has an orb experience, it reacts in a specific way to the brain chemistry. Now, none of that is present on Desesh. However, you are getting elevated levels of stress, almost as if he's just been through a stressful experience.
Uh, sh- she gets an extra question as well because she's medical officer, right?
No,
That's
I
up to the storyteller because Biolab admin isn't a complete position.
I think that's a talent, but if you guys want to spend a momentum on a question, I won't deny the opportunity, not at this particular second. I might in the future.
While she's doing the scan, which is kind of cover for me to communicate this to her, I just wanted to say, your check. Sorry, sorry. What was that?
I don't think anyone was talking. I think it was
Oh,
just you.
okay. Uh, I just whispered to her, "You're checking for possession."
Um,
You
you
think you're
did.
possessed?
I want to rule it out.
Um,
Okay.
you can tell very, very thoroughly, especially because you do have Deep Space Nine's records and internal scanners of when both Tywin and Jake Sisko were possessed by both the prophets and the pirates. Um, and I'm not gonna actually take a momentum for it because I don't think that's necessary. But you can tell without a shadow of a doubt that outside of his own paranoid thoughts, he is not possessed.
Okay. Uh, um, you're you're not possessed. You're just experiencing um, a heightened sense of uh, fear. It's not much unlike PTSD. Uh, just give yourself a little bit, and you should be coming down normal. Do you want me to give you something to help the anxiety?
No, I think I can pull myself together. Thank you, doctor.
No problem.
Uh, Desesh kind of like does the sort of Picard maneuver and kind of uh, turns around, but you do catch him like clicking on his Daja Pa, which you're the only one that knows that it does that, but he's clearly activated it. And
And in the meantime, Jill was gonna try to get a read on the Kai Just like get just for one, just looking him over just to gauge his reaction and inadvertently like to see if she can read the Kai, but she doesn't know to actually try consciously.
Okay. In that case, so why don't we do it this way? I think we'll do it as one of uh, my typical double difficulties. However, this time instead of having the momentum on the lower end, because, and this is specifically because you said you were doing it on a subconscious level, I'm gonna have the momentum tag at the higher thing. So let's go with difficulty one, insight security, or I think insight command, for just kind of a cold read, I guess, and uh, difficulty. We'll go with difficulty two for the other one, but that's where the momentum will, for a better read, I should say.
Okay. I'll take a momentum for an extra die.
Alrighty, that I can do.
Leadership as a focus.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
No. We're gonna uh
Oh, okay. You know
Maybe
what?
it's
It's all good.
speak up or fade in the black to reroll.
Um, okay. I will definitely just, I'm just saying it's fair, Jill's a little, your potential future man is having a traumatic experience, so it's fair to be a little like, yee. But I'll definitely take that. That's a much better roll.
I like that one better.
That is a much better roll, netting you one momentum, actually giving you back the one momentum you spent, but still gaining that which you took away as you kind of look to this guy as everyone else is kind of milling about, and uh, you can see that he's definitely how do I put this? He's doing the thing where he's obviously paying you guys minds, and keeping a close eye on what you guys are doing. However, just the way that he's kind of bearing and kind of holding himself and his facial expression, you can tell he it he's not doing it because he's worried that you're gonna steal the orb. He's doing it so he can see how best to assist. But you can also see the look in his eyes of that of someone with basically infinite patience. And as you start to kind of think about the last, several minutes, and realize that you kind of put a couple facts together, and this is the result of the better roll. But as you kind of put a couple facts together and realize that, well, one, you are completely new to these people, and well, quite frankly, before the Kai, uh, you guys did introduce yourself to him, but before the Kai even introduced himself, uh, he brought Desesh and Jaro down here. Um, as you kind of think about the events, kind of teamed with that patience, and his kind of just sitting there ready to help. You start to get a picture. At least you start to build what you would assume is a pretty correct mental picture of the man, which is um, probably not one that you would need to fear a threat from. And he's certainly waiting in such a way to not be intrusive.
Okay. She'll rub her temple for a minute, picking up some extra information she wasn't expecting, but at the same time composing herself. And while Disesh is putting himself together, she'll step forward, or she'll step forward towards him. So now that he's had his experience, um, can you tell me about the history of your people here? We came to learn and understand one another, and I'd like to know how you came to be here on this world.
Um, of course, he says, I'd be happy to educate you as your um friends, he posits, colleagues,
She nods.
as they um as they gather their bearings. We've well, you'll we came here uh millennia ago, during what we call the Great Exodus, and well, we've quite frankly been here ever since, hoping that hoping that well we can fulfill the goals that the prophets have set up for us.
And if you don't mind me asking, what goals would those be?
Oh, that's quite simple, he says. Uh, be be harmonious and well protect protect that. He says, motioning over to the orb in the room.
Oh, interesting. And Jill's gonna glance around. Is the room as intricately carved as the map appears to be?
Um, it is not. That was more conceptual. It's one thing that I'll note about a lot of this is that it's remarkably plain. Their clothing, even the Kai's clothing itself is plain. Um, there's no real carvings. It doesn't seem like, aside from the arc, it doesn't really seem like this is a very religious room. That makes sense.
Okay. You said millennia ago. Are there any stories about how long it took your people to arrive here on your exodus? And she's making a little bit of small talk, learning the history. At the same time, she's also looking around to see if there's any imagery of serpents.
So to answer the second question, why not? You know what? I don't need to make you roll for that. I'm just gonna say no. Um, however, to for the Kai's answer, um, he says, I I apologize. I don't have an exact figure. However, I do know that from the information that's been passed down, it's quite clear that the journey took a lot shorter than was expected. I believe from from or not I believe, but they were slated to take a journey of over 100 years, and when they reached the docks, or I'm sorry, not when they reached the docks, when they found Bahara, there was, well, plenty of supplies left over to start. But
And I'm sorry, I know I have. We have thousands of questions. Learning and understanding is one of our goals. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said it's a noble goal.
Uh, what? What caused your people to have their exodus?
Um, uh, as he as he kind of gets a cloudy look in his eye for a couple moments. Um, he says, "Well, we were." Oh, he says we were keeping. It was in order to keep that safe. He says, but as he notices Dinesh kind of walk up, he says, "But please, why don't why don't we gather everyone together and well, quite frankly, um, not that I don't mind explaining our beliefs repeatedly. It just might save time for you guys to hear it all at once."
Of course. And Joel, noticing the commanders nearby, so Dinesh, are you feeling okay now? Or Commander, are you feeling okay?
Oh no. Do we
He's
lose?
muted.
Sorry.
No.
I think so, yes. Have we completed what was to be done here?
Not entirely. I was just getting a little bit more of their I was just learning a little bit more of their history while
I
we were
meant
able
as
to
to
see.
the orb.
Oh, that she'll snap her eyes back to the Kai.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What of the orb?
He's asking if, I'm asking if we've completed what he needed to do regarding the orb. Can we leave?
Um,
Like, have we
as
passed the
you
test, basically?
as you as you say that, the Kai simply shrugs and says, "It is simply my focus to bring you here. What you do once I have, of course, you're free to leave at any moment." Um,
I was hoping that we could go somewhere and talk.
Well, as the guy says, well, this certainly this week, this room is liable to get quite busy. Perhaps you all follow me back upstairs, and I hope you don't mind. I may have to take a moment here and there to greet people, of course, but I'd be happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
Thank you. We follow him. I do take a moment to say to Jill, yes, there were similarities. We will need to talk about the imagery.
Complete recognition on her face. She nods. Now, when we're back on the ship, yes, we will have to talk about this.
Yeah. Jaro just kind of walks along with everybody. Every so often, people can probably hear the errant kind of grinding as she moves.
As everyone starts to ascend, I think the rest of us are gonna ascend too, all the way back up to the Nightingale, where we're we're gonna hit sick bay where we'll say that Vanderveer is out in outer sanctum of the sick bay, and Captain, as the doors kind of slide open, you can see a beautiful visage as he smiles brightly and says, "Nira, is it getting ready to be about time to go? How you feeling?"
Like you're going to do something that is incredibly try hard. She says as she kind of grins a little bit, kind of basically rubbing her eyes and kind of cupping her face like, ugh.
Well, possibly, he says easily, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work.
Right. Alright.
Well, I suppose. Well, we're going to be taking a bit of a field trip. Sorry, I know you just got this vessel, but we'll be back within a day.
Well, I have to let somebody know. She says, and she'll have her yeoman held the sash in case. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. And he says, and Vanderveer's coming with us. I have to say, I like that guy. I think I could see me and him in a fishing boat. What about you?
Yeah, she'll both curmudgeonly old men. Yes. I can see that.
Well, that is certainly fair, and well, let's just say you do have reasons to be a little prickly. You came by it honestly. Certainly today, your back might hurt, but we're gonna see what we can do about that.
She just kind of gives him a face like, really?
Well, if nothing else, you're gonna get to learn a couple facts about me you didn't know.
Right. If I find out you're the progenitor of every humanoid race in the galaxy, I'm going to be rather cross.
I wouldn't tell you that. After all, that would make
No
what I used to
kidding.
do kind of weird.
Well, that kind of makes what everybody does kind of weird. Anyway, right.
Well, I guess that's a good point. Let's not dwell on that. Certainly not this trip. Um, However, well, I suppose you're gonna find out anyways. I have a ship on the way to pick us up. Quite frankly, needed something a little bit faster than well your shuttles are capable of. And quite frankly, Diana's been wonderful, but I need something a little faster than that too. Certainly if we're gonna get back into
Oh dear. Right. Well, eh, she just kind of shrugs and says, "Right. Well, if we're going to have to wait for your ship to arrive, I suppose." She says, "I would rather like to see my dog."
Oh, Ari's coming too. She's actually she's in the hallway at the moment. Kasara has been keeping her a little busy.
Oh dear.
She's been wonderful. You know you raised her good. We raised her good.
Yeah, it's the. Says, uh,
Well, and as he says, it should only be a few minutes anyways. It is uh well, I guess I own a starship, surprise.
well, figured you did.
Huh. As Arif kind of looks a little bit deflated. He says, "Well, come on now. Let's go collect the doctor and let's say goodbye to Kasara." Um, well, oh, by the way, I hope you don't mind. In order to keep her busy and uh, not stress out about you too much, I asked Kasara to help Hakiri with the project I asked for.
No, I'm sure they'll get along famously.
I don't see why not. I'll be honest, I haven't talked to her very much, but I've got a pretty good feeling about her, and I think that she'd make a pretty good friend with Kasara.
Well, that's fair. Lord knows that the people on Rome. Oh, she just shivers like, ugh, all the backstabbing.
Well, at least that's something we don't have to worry about, he says as he gets a little chirp on his wrist piece. And as he looks down, he says, "Oh, that'll be her. Uh, Come on, let's get you ready. Let's say goodbye to Kasara and let's get you aboard the Horizon."
Right, right. Alright, alright. She'll go and she'll go and give her daughter a hug and a kiss. And yeah, kind of, she'll pick up well, she won't pick up Ari. She'll have Arif pick up Ari.
Which he'll do completely. He willingly does.
Uh yeah. And at some point on the way to the ship she will casually mention that
Oh, we're not at the ship yet. We stop by the outer office and Reef pokes his head over and he says, "Hey Doc, you still good to come or?"
Are you going to ask me a third time and give me the opportunity to say no?
"Yes, if I must," the Reef says.
How are you going to let me say no?
Of course.
Just let's go before I change my mind.
And for the record, I just want to point out that Arif, when he said that, was in no way whatsoever looking smug or anything, just simple truth. But as the three of you start walking to the shuttle bay, Arif, trying to be helpful,
resting smug face.
trying to be helpful. He looks over to the doc and says, "Hey, doc. Well, another thing, I can't force upon you, of course, but it would. The fact of the matter is, doc, we're not going to be heading out in what is exactly considered a Starfleet ship, and well, um, you know, hoping we can keep this between us."
Mira just kind of shakes her head like that.
What do you mean, one of our ships?
Oh, well, it's my ship, Doctor. It's my personal ship. I guarantee you it's just as safe, if not more so, than the typical Starfleet ship. I've had, well, quite some
Well,
time to perfect
you got a license for that thing?
Mira kind of laughs a little bit.
Reef does too, but doesn't actually favor you with an answer outside of the chuckle.
If he does, it expired 1,200 years ago. She'll say under her breath. Oh, and she does. She'll stop by one of the wall panels or whatever, and send a note to the yeoman saying, hey,
Just had back surgery taken off. Peace out, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's a little more professional about it, but she'll have her basically write the note. She'll dictate the note, have the yeoman write it, and put it on the commander's desk.
Absolutely, as the yeoman puts it on the fridge and hits that little magnet on it.
Oh, jeez, there's
Uh,
no fridge.
It can finally shift us over to the map as
Oh, jeez.
as the three of you, well, I'm sorry, counting Ari, the four of you beam over to Reef ship, and sorry, I'm actually just looking for where it is. Okay, there it is. And as as the three of you beam in, solidify, a reef shows you around, both around quickly. It's not a huge ship, probably uh maybe three times the size of a runabout. Um with a what is obviously holographic pilot is he looks to the two of you and says, welcome to the horizon. To be honest, this ship is exceedingly well. This, if you go by the original part, this ship is exceedingly old, but he's state of the art. And well, quite frankly, the two of you are the first two besides me to ever set foot on here. Well, technically, that's not true. There's one other who has, but she's been pretty good at keeping a secret. He says, looking at Nero with a smile.
She actually goes cherry red and just kind of walks away. Well, as fast as she can.
He was talking about Kasara.
Yeah, either way.
Okay, because Nero does not know about the show.
I know.
Okay. And
Okay, Theseus, we just need the basic tour.
well,
Big honor, big honor.
See, and just have to point out that when trying to impress the captain, I managed to pick the perfect foil to bring with me, and I love it. So, as as Arif kind of shows you around the ship and heads back to the bridge to let the pilot know, he comes back to he comes back to you guys and says, uh, you might want to hold on to something. We're about to start traveling, well, pretty quickly, and uh, with this ship, at least, with the drive, well, there's an initial bump and then it's quite smooth. But
Right. She will go find a seat. She is not standing for this.
that is certainly fair, and a reef will come strap you in, and you can see that he actually hits a button on the console, and a little like kind of clear protective dome kind of pops into existence right below the seat that you're looking for, and he kind of snaps his fingers, and Ari kind of jumps into the dome, and it shuts around it. As
First ship with seatbelts. What do you know?
yeah. Okay, what about you, Vanderveers? Vanderveer, are you as well sitting, or are you gonna brave it standing?
He's gonna get into a seat and he's gonna be gripped onto it, white knuckle.
Yeah. Fair enough. And in 3, 2, 1, blast off. The two of you suddenly realize that Arif was not joking, as suddenly you are throttled to the back of your seat momentarily, and just as you would have experienced the slight pang of pain from your back injury, the pressure and the momentum instantly lighten up, and before you can get pressed into the seat, you're free again. And let's go back down to Bajor.
Bahara.
Bahara. Sorry, I'm gonna make that mistake a lot. But back down to Bahara, the Kai has managed to. Yep, I do need to switch. The Kai has managed to bring you to a little bit of a kind of more privater area of the sanctum. However, it is in kind of full view of the entrance. Excuse me. And you notice that he kind of he's keeping one eye um on you guys and one eye on the entrance. However, it seems like that most of the people that were were kind of clustered around him earlier kind of are giving him a bit of a bit of a wide berth.
Hi. Now that your initial concerns have been dealt with, I want to again reiterate that we're here to um, open a dialogue between your people that honestly we were not aware of until recently, and the United Federation of Planets, which, as of this moment, includes Bajor, which I believe we share a common ancestor.
Um, as the as the Kai nods, he says, "We know of Bajor, and we were of Bajor at one point. However, we're not anymore. However, um, you said that you wanted to meet with us, if I must ask, or if I must uh, pray tell why."
We are uh, explorers, and in the interests of meeting new life and new civilizations, we routinely try to reach out to new civilizations that have, and yours is in fact uh, a new civilization, even if it was one that that we share a common root. We honestly had lost track of you out here. We did not know that you had discovered and thrived in this place so far from Bajor. Bajor has no record of your exodus.
Then nodding, uh, the Kai says that was most likely intentional.
Did you
And,
bring Tear of the Prophets with you?
um, to Sash and Jill. You know what? And Carrie and Jill. So in order to make this a little bit easier, I'm gonna say that only Desesh and Joe are eligible to gain momentum on this roll, but anyone can make it. Um, it's gonna be difficulty 1, insight, and difficulty 1, insight, and security or command.
Insight, command. Uh, this is a social challenge, so I think and bargain or cultural flexibility might play into this. It's up to you.
Not exactly, no. Um, I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I'd say it's more of a perception check.
Okay. And I guess
Interstellar relations as a focus.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the focus.
In- interstellar relations.
I'm thinking. Interstellar relations.
I can tell he's thinking because the room's filling up with smoke.
Considering. I'm gonna say no. This is gonna be one of those few times that I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's Jill's, and this one is Kiana's.
All right. Well, you did gain a momentum from Jill. Interesting complication. First contact, religious situation. What happens? You guys have 4 momentum. Do you guys really want to make it 2?
Yeah, we want to squash it.
Yeah.
Well, 2 momentum it shall be. As all 3 of you kind of noticed that that when you say tears of the prophets and kind of insinuate that what they have is a tear of the prophet, um, the Kai almost gets flashes a look of revulsion in his face very quickly before he kind of readopts that very calm and patient expression as he simply says, no, we were trying to, well, we were trying to vacate their presence."
What
So
do you
you
refer to? What do you refer to it as then?
The um, he says the vessel, the prophet.
okay? I have reading. So, like, can I read more into that revulsion? Does this like? Am I getting a Pa Wraith kind of vibe off of this? Like that he doesn't like the prophets,
Um,
or when it's the prophets, he's not referring to the same ones that I am.
uh, give me about 10 seconds to figure out how I word the answer there.
No problem.
If there's a roll, Joel will assist. Try
No,
and
it's
just
it's
make
coming
it
off
fine.
the cold reading palette.
Free
So,
momentum.
um, all right. So, when I said revulsion, uh, it should be that might have been the wrong word a little bit. Revulsion
You
kind
mean
of
recoil?
recoil is probably a little bit better because with revulsion, I'd say that there's at least in some ways hostility attached, which I don't think that there was. And the Sesh, you can tell that it didn't make him hostile or give him the grumpies or anything. He just it would it would almost he reacted. You know what? Screw it. He would have reacted pretty similarly to the way if Joe or Morgana carelessly called it the Parath orb or the tears of the Parath, it would probably give you a pretty similar reaction. Now, I'm not saying Parath specifically, I'm just trying to get us there quickly without.
Yeah. Uh, so I'm getting the sense that his prophets and my prophets are not the same prophets.
Yes. Uh, yes. However, he does know of As is, it is clear that he does know of your orbs, or
Okay.
Bajor's, or the tears of the prophets. Sounded dirtier than I wanted it to.
All right. I am, of course, uh, curious as to why you necessitate a an interaction with the orb immediately upon arrival. Were you asked to do that?
Um, no. The guy says, almost asked by who the and uh he gets kind of a smile on his face. Just a very kind, gentle smile as he says, I'm sorry, son, the prophets don't talk to me directly.
You have not
Uh,
had an experience similar to what I just did?
Jarl raises an eyebrow.
um looking uh to be honest, I don't know what your experience truly was. I am, well, honestly not psychic, and it's the height of impropriety for me to ask. It's a very personal. Um, if you were treated with the vision, not everyone was, but it would have been very personal, and I wouldn't dream of attempting to discover that.
And I won't attempt to pry further, Kai. My apologies.
Oh, how you have no way of knowing? You have nothing to apologize for.
Yeah, Jarl still has a look of like, wow, okay. Okay.
What's wrong,
Almost
child?
almost a look of pity. Uh she just says honestly, it's just weird for me that you don't speak with the prophets.
I speak to the prophets, my child. They don't speak to me.
She nods. She says, I understand that. She said, it's I I had a chance to meet the emissary once. So to say that I haven't spoken with the prophets, she says, well, I guess it's just a difference in upbringing.
That's another another business altogether. But could we arrange? I don't want to. We've obviously sprung this on you uh, fairly immediately, and I don't want to overburden you. You mentioned that you were quite busy. Could we arrange some sort of uh, appointment, some sort of formal opportunity for us to continue diplomatic steps? Perhaps we could provide some information to you so that you might feel better prepared for um, furthering of talks.
Um, that the information's not necessary. The Kai says if I have a question, I'll simply ask. There's no reason to, at least I don't believe there's on my end any reason for me to study up. After all, if you don't like who I am, uh, or and who we are, well, I prefer to know that sooner rather than later.
To the contrary, Kai, I'm eager to continue this dialogue, but I seem to be a man down, and I think there may be something going on my ship, and I think we might uh, need an opportunity to collect ourselves before we proceed.
Oh, first. Uh, the guy just kind of shrugs and says, "You are welcome anytime. You have simply but to stop by. very rarely leave this building, and you can um, certainly feel free to come talk to me as long as your schedule allows. However, that being said, you're also welcome to speak with whom you wish.
My officer will provide you with the codes necessary to communicate directly with my ship. I suspect that we may be back down here in about 3 hours.
Of course, and we'll be happy to wait. We truly have no reason to contact you. That, well, quite frankly, it's during this week. Um, it there'd be no one to do it anyway. So, you can feel free to just stop back as you feel.
Very well. 3 hours then. Thank you, Kai. It has been a pleasure.
Of course. The guy says, and uh, simply goes back to his kind of uh, whatchamacallit, his kind of just patient, pleasant look.
Transporter room 5 to beam up.
And as the five of you disappear, y'all end up once again back into the Nightingale.
As soon as we're in the transporter room, where's the doctor?
Jill just lets out a long sigh, like she's been holding enough back, and now she just visibly relaxes before answering. So he was called back to the ship. I believe it had something to do with the captain.
Computer, locate Dr. DeVere. Dr. Van
Dr.
Veer.
DeVere is not on board. I'm
Sorry, what
sorry,
was
there
that?
was two of those working at the same time, but it helpfully responds, and I won't use its name so that doesn't get triggered again. It helpfully responds, Dr. Vanderveer is not on board.
I look at the transporter chief and I say, "Is he still down there?"
Jill
Shrugging.
raises an eyebrow, and while the transporter chief does their look, Jill just asks the computer, locate Captain Morgana.
Captain Morgana is not on board. Well, when the when the transporter chief looks to you, Decession says, no, he's not. I beamed him on board a good half hour or so ago. Hmm. He looks a little puzzled at the computer's report as well.
Where's Commander Arif?
There's no response.
Jill marches
Really?
off.
He's not on board?
Jill just marches off out of the transporter room on her way to the bridge.
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay, good, because I actually have a bridge map.
Thank you for going somewhere I have a map for.
Or at least prepared.
Yeah, she's gonna go through security logs from when Vanderveer transported on, tracing verifying that he went to sick bay, and then we're gonna go through the voice logs of the open area sick bay that's not private locked off for privacy reasons.
Yeah, and you get pretty much you kind of you realize a number of things. One, you just following Vanderveer's whatchamacallit, you know that he kind of has beamed off about 7 minutes ago. And that kind of bridges you to the point where the captain and Arif have also beamed off at that same time. And then you
Ara as
kind of
well.
manage to, through the conversations, pretty much you get what happened, pretty much.
Yeah, and just typing over the console, watching some of these security logs. Fucking son of a bitch!
I am going to take a moment to let whoever was on the on comm know that they probably should have told me if someone was disembarking from my ship, and that would be expected in future.
So
Especially if it was the
So,
captain.
interestingly enough, hold on, because I can speak to that because this is actually, well, quite frankly, not. There's really, as you kind of get a little deeper, you realize that the transport originated from outside the ship. So basically, no one in the crew was asked. So there was no one to report this other than
Oh, so they kidnapped a
your.
member of my staff. Several members of my staff. Okay, that's
However,
different.
the conversation would have also revealed that Morgana went completely willingly and
Left a note.
left a note.
Yeah,
would have.
Jill's going to be rubbing her temple, saying something to that effect. So it's not kidnapping if they went voluntarily, but it's very, very disrespectful. We can't. It's not going AWOL because captain's off duty. Vanderveer's a civilian, and Reef is not a part of the crew.
Vanderveer does have a job, though.
And he's doing it.
Arguable.
Yeah, he has an obligation to the ship, and he went along with them.
What does the note say?
It says basic.
Peace out, Frumpkins.
No, that's not what it says. Basically, it says that she is going to spend her recovery with the commander, and that she basically she is going, like, she needed like medical supervision, and obviously she can't supervise herself. Hence why Vanderveer is going. But yeah, basically it was,
Not kidnapped.
yeah, basically I am.
Oh, we was it's not kidnapping.
We could all argue about it in character later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem that the captain has, well, not on the ship. And you guys managed to piece together all of this.
Is Kasara still on the ship?
Yes.
I would like to speak to her.
Sure. As uh as a couple minutes go by, she gets up to the bridge and says, "Yes, Commander."
Could I speak to you for a moment? It's in regards to your parents.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I would like to speak to you for a moment. It's in regards to your parents and their departure.
a little smile at the parents line. She nods and says, "Of course."
I'm gonna take her into my ready room. I do make eye contact with Jill if she wants to come.
Oh, you know what? We'll just switch Narif for Kisara.
Yes, she obviously does not have the typical bowl cut of most Romulans.
So fine. There we go. Um, and she. I am so sorry. Give me 30 seconds.
Yeah. Sorry. I well, I think the only thing Morgana has done wrong is she doesn't have security with her. I think that's the only thing.
She
Disagree.
has the puppy.
Yeah,
Just
well,
not-
Ari doesn't count. Ari doesn't count as security. Uh, Alrighty, I am back. I apologize. Um, can someone? I'm sorry. Could someone? What was the last question asked?
Well, I think we haven't started the conversation yet with Kisara in the
She's
in the ready room.
Oh Christ! I'm about to get a knock on my door, so just give me 20 more seconds. I think you're on. Hold on. Yeah. Yep. I'm back. I apologize. Finally ready to start this conversation as Kasara.
It's okay. I'm back too.
Hello. As Kasara kind of sinks down into the chair, just in a very unconcerned manner. Commander?
We haven't really had an opportunity to talk much, Kisara. Are you doing okay here? Obviously, I just discovered the situation has changed rather significantly during my absence. Uh, can you shed light on why your mother and father are not on the ship right now?
That's pretty simple. Dad wanted to show her something.
That was as much as he told you?
I'm sorry, say again?
That was as much as he told you?
That's as much as I'm going to tell you. I mean, they're both safe, but it's a private matter.
Any kind of ETA, like for their return?
Yeah, they should be back by tomorrow.
All right. Obviously, you didn't go along. Is there anything that we can do for you in the meantime?
No, I'm perfectly fine here. If I need anything, I'll just ask my mom. Don't worry.
Did he say where they were going in case anything were to happen and might need help?
Well, that's what I'm for, just in case. So I don't think either of you need to worry about it. I mean, well,
She
um,
is the captain of this ship. While she may be off duty right now, it is still something that we do need to worry about.
well, I thought he was the captain of the ship at the moment. Kazar kind of just says, pointing at the sesh. And
He is in
Acting
command
captain.
at the moment, but she is still the assigned captain of the ship, and she will be returning to duty when she is able.
yes, Kazar says,
So you can
absolutely.
understand why her safety is still a concern, even though Desesh has temporary authority over the ship and crew.
Of course,
Do we
what
have the
I'm
means of
telling you.
communicating with them?
I'm sorry, say that again, Dinesh?
Do I ask Kasara? Do we have the means of communicating with them? Can you reach them?
Um,
He's
I'm
thinking.
thinking. Casares is, of course. I mean, I don't think either of them would be willing to go out of communication, completely out of communication. But
Could
like
you
I said,
guide us?
I think,
That is not
say again?
very reassuring.
I mean, he just kind of shrugs and she says, "Isn't she the captain? Like you just said, isn't she the captain if she wants to leave the ship? Isn't she wanted to? Like,
I'm not
why am
pulling her
I
back. I just want the means to communicate with her. Can you provide it?
tell you what she says? Because I was asked if they basically elapse time, I'll be happy to. But until then, you know, I think privacy is the expectation here. Not the end of the world, it's a day.
A lot can happen in a day, and
Oh, tell me about it.
it's not a matter of us. We're not going to go
Disesh,
and call them right this minute, but have more than one person having the ability to contact them should the need arise would make more sense.
I'm not going anywhere, Kasara scoffs. And with a sweet smile, she says, will that be all?
thank you, Kasara. Avail yourself of the ship, and we appreciate your help.
Oodles. She says, giving both of you a little bit of a salute as she walks out.
Disesh kind of makes eye contact with Jill. Is this an Elorian thing?
I think it's an asshole thing.
Because we're so old, we just stop caring.
Yeah, probably.
It's like when you get the 90-year-old, he just walks out in the middle of the street scratching himself because fuck it, he doesn't give a damn. He'll be dead in either a minute or a year. Like, he doesn't give a damn. Whoa.
And as the door whisks shut, the two of you, well, I've already started insulting her. So, feel free to continue.
I'm actually
Dr. Harper,
surprised
you can
they
join
didn't
us.
get Lori part.
It just shows a severe lack of respect to the command staff and the crew in general, just picking up and leaving with. And she just points at the note, especially with how sensitive our mission could have been.
I don't know if anyone picked up, but I asked Dr. Hercurry to join us.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry, I didn't hear that. Give me a sec, I'll get the toke.
Was I there the whole time, or did I just show up?
No, I'm summoning you in now.
Okay.
The summons.
Well, Doctor, it seems Dr. Vanderveer is not on the ship at the moment. I know that Medbay is not your purview, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to make sure that you know things check in to make sure that things are running smoothly. I'm hoping that you could take that off my plate. I also wanted to quickly take a moment to debrief about what happened on the planet below. Uh, I had an orb experience. I'm sure that most people here are familiar with the concept, but I don't think it was a typical one. Uh, I'm First of all, I did experience some imagery that is similar to what you described to me, Commander. Uh, three snakes, one going up the center, the three eyes meeting the middle. The, this is what you described to me in our meeting, didn't you?
Yes. And something I did not realize afterwards was I saw exactly the end of you in front of that crate box, whichever they want to call it.
You
That's
saw
when I realized you were seeing the same things I had seen.
I saw you as well in my vision. You had red eyes, and you talked about uh, the beginning of things. And
That quirks her head. That's a complete surprise to her.
I saw what I could only describe as the process of creation, but it it ended with that orb, and I don't know that I put much stock in color coding, but the image of you with your eyes flashing red, my understanding is that that's commonly associated with Paul Wraith possession. Uh, I I got the impression from the Kai that he may not associate himself or his religion with the same prophets that myself or Jaro might. I don't know that we can say that it's the Pa Wraiths. My understanding of the Pa Wraiths is that they were banished to the fire caves on Bajor. I wouldn't expect to find them out here, but I got the impression also that he doesn't associate the orb that is in their possession with the prophets. That it's not, and that stands to reason that it's not one of the nine orbs that are associated with the Celestial Temple and Bajor. Those are accounted for. They
Well,
got it somewhere else.
first, if we're worried about possession, she shrugs. Not that I'm putting credence to that. I've only been in orbit of Bajor a couple of times. I've never set foot on the planet. But I have been through the wormhole. I'm not sure how that would relate to anything. And my eyes have always been this color. But the Kai, I didn't sense anything untoward. See, feel. She shrugs.
There
Didn't
is
seem untoward, at least. Unusual, but Nothing worse than that.
There's obviously a certain amount of vilifying of the Pa race in Bajoran scripture, but I don't think I want to, in this situation, on the assumption that these, I don't know what to call them, non-profits? Uh, these
They're
these
a
other French,
profit
uh,
organization.
these other prophets are the Pa wraiths. I don't know that that tracks the timeline. Well, I mean, if timeline can even be applied to these beings, but I think that we may need to consider the possibility that this is a third faction.
I have no reason to see why not. There's no reason to believe that this is a binary situation. As you say, prophets, pirates. Just because we've only encountered 2 of this kind does not mean more do not exist.
I feel like that I don't want to read too much into the symbolism, but the image of 3 snakes, the repeated image of 3 makes me think that it makes me inclined to take the step of not assuming that the situation is binary. Maybe that was the message that they were trying to get across.
Maybe we only know so much of anything outside of the ones within the wormhole. As you said, the ones down in the fire cave. We may not know for some time. As far as the vision goes, I don't understand why I would have seen a lot of, if not the exact same things you have seen, especially when we were nowhere near the vicinity of Bahara when I had mine.
We're dealing with beings that may not be limited by linear time. I mean, it's quite the question of when you would experience the visions, when you were in a position uh, to experience them. I don't. Anything could have happened. It might even be an experience that. Well, I mean, I just don't think that we can make any assumptions about cause and effect while we're dealing with beings of this nature.
But I'm also not Bajoran. I've never seen into any of the orbs. How that would play in, I'm not sure. I hope it's not the same situation as Cisco. She shakes her head.
Not looking for a title bump.
Not looking for the additional headaches. I have enough of those as it is.
Speaking of additional headaches, and I'm about to flip a little bit away, but before I do, Captain Desesh, um, as Jill declares that she is all good with headaches for the next little stretch, you get you get a chime on the console and you hear Captain, the voice of Deers, the con officer. I'm sorry, not Deer. Yes, Deers, the con officer.
Captain here.
Hi, Captain. It seems you're getting a personal transmission. It appears to be coming from Bajor, the office of the Kai.
Who's the current Kai?
Uh, have that information.
Should be
And
Opaka.
it
Oh,
isn't. It is Prelon Anala, and if you give me 2 seconds, let me copy
Oh,
the
I'm
link.
thinking of the wrong damn game. My bad. I'm duh.
If where's the Nightingale? There we go. Since I'm flipping over anyways, allow me to uh that is your Kai. And as we head out to Captain and Vanderveers, after about 5 or 6 hour journey, Arif comes back in and says, "Well, I know you can feel the acceleration, but one thing that's nice about this ship is she stops on a dime, and well, the dampeners are pretty good. Uh, we are here. We have arrived," he says, as he kind of motions out a porthole and says, "I hope you like how it looks here. I actually, well, quite frankly, chose this place quite some time ago. I moved it here actually well,
Oh dear. She'll go over to the window.
and as you see, it's clear that the ship is in what appears to be a pretty decent asteroid field. As you see the giant rocks kind of floating to and from, and the whole sky itself is lit up in blue and green and violet hues from what appears to be cooling energy, kind of uh, giving you the impression that you're either within a nebula or an energy field of some kind.
Okay. They'll turn around and say, "Alright, I'll bite. What's going on?"
Well, and he looks at well, uh, well, let's see, he says, as he looks at Vanderveer and says, "Doctor, quick question for you. What's the one thing common for every living thing in this universe?"
Cellular division?
Fair, I suppose, but what about single cellular organisms?
They reproduce.
I guess that's fair too. But unfortunately, he says,
They
looking
have
at,
DNA.
and well, they die. That's what we were looking for, he says, with a bit of a gentle laugh.
Right.
Listen, Doctor, I know, and he says, still talking to you, Vanderveer, almost pointedly ignoring Morgana, as he says, "Listen, Doctor, if I know that you know that I'm pretty old, and well, quite frankly, I am. And I've reached certain conclusions a long time ago. Well, the fact of the matter is, a good I think that you know that my planet, well, our planet," he says, motioning to near, was, well, destroyed by the Borg.
She sneers a bit.
Well, and as he kind of nods and continues, he says, "That was critically unfortunate, but long ago I had certainly come to the realization that, well, quite frankly, if it wasn't going to be the Borg, it would have been a cosmic ray. If it wasn't a cosmic ray, it would have been, well, someone's stupidity. The fact of the matter is, near our planet was, since the moment of conception, put on a timeline where the only eventual end was destruction. And I hate the Borg for bringing it to that. But
She just looks at him like, if this is your like speech to make me feel better, it's not working kind of look on her face.
and he catches the look and he grins a little bit and he says, "But I also had thousands of years knowing without a doubt that my planet would eventually be destroyed. So I made arrangements and well, things are getting a little bit more dangerous for me, Mira. And it's important that if something happens to me, someone else knows about this place. So, Mira, doctor, I, well, this is weird. You will be the, well, second and third person to know about this place, but welcome to my home."
He, she just turns and looks and says, "Well, I suppose it's better than a flat on the West End."
Neither of you have seen inside yet, he says quite seriously, and without asking or further ado, he simply taps something along his wrist, and the three of you vanish, only to show up in what appears to be a very clean and almost hermetically sealed avenue. And Doctor, while you, all right, I'm sorry, Doctor Vanderveer, while you see antiques and artifacts and bookshelves lining kind of walls holding hundreds, if not thousands, of books. Mira, you see a giant selection from, well, your planet's history from all different ages.
Okay. She just looks at him and says, "So what did you do? Go back and pluck the Palisades off the planet?" She says, looking at everything.
Laughing a little bit, he smiles. He says, "No, no, no time games for this. Just, well, I suppose you could consider it a time game, but when you're as old as I am, and let's keep in mind here, I've lived your life over 40 times over. Well, you get pretty rich."
She
Oh boy, I can't wait to one day hope to afford my own northern clouds with northern lights with rocks.
Doctor, you're in a piece of, well, history right now. There's no.
She'll pull off one of the books, specifically one that says something medical on it, and she'll look over it.
It's an ancient Elorian
Yeah,
text, medical text.
she'll hand it over to the doctor and say, "Well, if the year on this book is to be believed, this is a 2,000-year-old medical text." She says, "Eh, believe it or not, we were pretty good at that." She says, "If you'd like to take a look."
Sure.
And, and the reef says, "And go ahead, doctor. Feel free to snoop around. I would be, well, please be respectful and be careful, but if anything seems to tickle your fancy, feel free. There's nothing here that is dangerous."
Well, she just kind of shrugs. Well, what do you know?
Oh, no, no, no. Before you get too entranced with the warehouse, I've got one more thing to show you, Nira, if you don't mind.
Right.
And why don't we let Vanderveer why don't we let Vanderveer well, read his medical text, and why don't you come with me for a moment? He says as he kind of leads you to um, the turbo lift, or a small kind of like turbo lifty type thing.
She'll follow.
As the two of you get in, the turbo lift starts to ascend, and why don't you give me an insight security or insight command difficulty? I'm gonna say difficulty 3 knocked down to difficulty 2 because of your Elorian trait, knocked down to difficulty 1 because of what I'm asking for.
Okay. Take threat. Uh, focus and counseling.
Yes. Alrighty. As you hold 1 second, you also gained a momentum out of that.
Oh wait, I can reroll. 1-0.
Right. And 2 momentum out of that. As as you look and see that Arif seems to be quite nervous, he starts to talk as he says that once again, I mean, I hope you do enjoy this, and obviously this is not something that I plan to keep for only myself, but I think it's important, at least for now, to keep its location secret simply because it is all of our history, at least all of our. And then as he's talking, suddenly you notice just the briefest of brief flashes in the booth, white flashes as he continues talking without missing a beat, but as you kind of blink and feel that your entire body like just feels slightly lighter, um, you realize that Arif himself has actually, in that moment, is no longer wearing his Starfleet uniform and is wearing his what appears to be a well civilian suit. And as you realize you feel lighter too, and you look down, you realize that you're no longer wearing your clothes either, but are actually clad in that red dress.
Well, at least the dress is flattering.
Well, I thought so the first time, Arif says, and I hope you don't mind. Kasara had a little help. She helped me program this. You know I couldn't figure this out.
Of course not.
And as the doors to the lift part open, you can see what appears to be a room with a huge panoramic glass view to look at um, to see pretty much the light show and the asteroids above. As Ari kind of holds his hand out to help you over the threshold and into the room to get a better view.
She'll take his hand and walk out. She goes, I hope you don't expect me to do any dips in this thing. Well, not that I couldn't, but.
Not today, he says. I know you still have
Yeah, forgot. Fragile.
well, at least temporarily. But the fact of the matter is, Nira, I've come to realize that we're all fragile. And as you say, each of us has different breaking points. And, well, quite frankly, I've discovered that mine is continuing on without you.
She just kind of puts up her finger for a moment and goes, no, that's fair enough. You know, you really should have come after me. No. No, you had to sit on your little. She just kind of wiggles her fingers in front of his face, like, yeah.
I did, he says. I just happened to wait for one of our pauses, not one of theirs.
Yeah.
I'm here now. I brought you here. Isn't that coming after you? I'm even nice to that lovable doctor, even though he keeps insulting me, and I love him, don't get me wrong. He's certainly a schmucky.
Honestly, I think it's part Napoleon complex, part. Well, you know how geniuses are.
That's fair. I certainly know what it's like to put up with one.
That's fair. He just kind of smirks at him and walks over and says, well, I do not envy you in the least. Although, technically, I don't envy me either. She says, unfortunately, she she just kind of smirks a little bit and is like, oh, the kids are probably panicking.
Well, we left a note and Kisara's there, so
That doesn't change the look on her face, like, oh, Christ. And you expect her to explain anything. If anything, she'll make it worse.
well, she'll probably end up making it worse for her and potentially me, but at the end of the day, you're the captain.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
But yeah.
the fact of the matter is, I think both me and her went into this knowing that if the mission is a success, then it's certainly worth as much hardship as
You're a damn
Everyone.
fool, is what you are.
perhaps. Did that make this foolish?
Incredibly. She just. Right. Well. Oh well, if I'm already gonna get in trouble, might as well keep making bad decisions. And she walks over and she'll give him a kiss.
I didn't expect it to be that easy, so let's flip on. Actually, before we flip on over, let's flip back down. Let's descend. Mr. Vanderveer, Dr. Vanderveer,
She's already making bad choices. Might as well.
are you reading that medical text, or are you just kind of flipping or kind of poking around? That's the word I was looking for.
Probably a combination of the both. Probably thumbing through the medical text while sort of meandering around.
You get to, as you're kind of doing that, you get to a bit of a chapter on Elorian longevity in relation to other species.
Longevity.
Longevity, sorry, yes.
Uh, Porter Reef, I don't have the heart to break it to him. There's an immortal jellyfish.
Well, that's fair. I mean, hey, the reef's pretty old. I'm sure that he's gotten over such slights.
No, Vanderveer's just talking to himself.
Oh. And, as you kind of read it and start poking around a little bit, you get to you kind of start to pass these um, rows of statues, but as you pass one of them, it almost looks like you catch in your peripherals that like the eyes as you walk past the statue kind of track you.
No, that's not normal. That is not. No, that's not okay.
And as you
I
kinda
know you're not looking at me.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Well, as you speak to the statue, it doesn't you get no response. However, you do notice that it's just kind of looking at you.
I'm gonna throw the book at it.
Control security difficulty too.
I'm gonna throw this 2,000-year-old or 3,000-year-old
Kind
book.
of douchey.
Poke it in the eyes.
Mom, he's looking at me.
You didn't say control
Go tell the
security?
Three Stooges.
Uh,
Wop, 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 wop.
It is a ranged attack, so control security. And you make it as you
Yeah,
kind of in surprise, I suppose, or just
Nobody expects a book to the face.
neither does the statue as you see the book go flying and as it goes hurtling towards its face, unable to protect itself because it's a statue. The book just kind of makes a thud on the statue as the book falls down to the ground and kind of opens up, kind of bending a couple of the loose ancient pages as it hits the ground. And
Just looked at you.
yeah, the statue hasn't moved.
As it's hit, he's gonna have his arms out, kind of in a defensive posture. He's gonna take a couple hops to the side to see if the eyes are still tracking him.
Yep. Yep. The statue does not move. However, the eyes seem to be tracking you.
I'm gonna start yelling for a reef. Hey! Hey!
Okay. After a couple moments, the kiss is broken by a little bit of a chime on the speaker in the room that says, "Mr. Arif, it would seem one of your guests, well, has found the laughing statue."
She just looks at Arif. Don't tell me that's from our world.
Arif says it was from about 6,200 years ago, if memory serves.
Oh dear.
Well, believe me, we were quite the pranksters back in the day. And,
No kidding.
and as the two of you start to go down, now let's flip over to back over to the horizon. I'm sorry, to the Nightingale, where the Sesh is just well been informed that he's got a phone call from the Kai. Or from the Kai's office, I should say.
Do we still have a Dasesh?
He might be muted.
We have a muted Dasesh.
Sorry.
You were good.
like you can see on his face that this is like a big deal, and he immediately starts fussing with his Dajapa and like trying to like uh, position himself for the camera and toward the view screen, and says, uh, "Put them through, Lieutenant."
Alrighty, and even though we're still in the ready room, well, quite frankly, I set this up in Desesh's office, so and the ready room doesn't have a good view screen. So, as you and I will add Hakiri and Jill. Um, oh my God, why is acid trumpet on this one?
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to have the music go.
just
um,
uh,
but as the screen winks on, you see that it's not actually the Kai. It's the woman in a Vedic's robe. And as she looks up, she says, "Excuse me, I'm Vedic Arso from the Kai's office. I was hoping to speak to a Captain Desesh."
you're speaking. Uh,
Captain, you can see that she looks slightly upset as she says, "Captain, I regret to inform you. I know you've requested the placement of Vedic for a colony of what appears to be, well, ostracized Bajorans, but um, I believe there we may be looking at a delay."
you used the word ostracized. I was my understanding that there was no record of this colony one way or the other. I wouldn't know what the is there something that you're aware of regarding the terms under which this well, they refer to it as the Exodus occurred on Bajor?
Oh, Exodus, I apologize, Captain. It's been a long night for me. I do apologize. I may have used the wrong word. No, we have no records of this colony. I had just assumed. Sorry, I haven't. Well, I've only barely glanced at the reports. She
I
says a little
uh,
embarrassed.
I have to admit I was expecting uh, the Vedic Council to be more intrigued at the possibility of a lost colony. Uh, do
Uh,
we not have the resources to for religious outreach in this situation, particularly given the prospect uh, of a possible second celestial temple?
um, Second celestial temple, she says.
You may wish to reread the request that I sent. There through there were reports here of the possibility of a second stable wormhole, and that
I'm
coupled with the existence of this colony, I was looking for Vedic support so that I could have uh, some connection or information that would allow.
Well, I do know that when the report first came in, the Kai made it of paramount importance. We had a craft fully staffed with the Vedic and a complete um uh diplomatic party. And she kind of slumps as she says, "However, about 18 hours ago, their craft was on the way out of the Bajoran system when, well, it was lost with all hands, and we're still trying to figure out the reasoning. So at the moment, that's the reason for the delay.
Our condolences.
Uh, oh,
Sorry, just to
but
clarify,
thank you.
who died?
The Vedic that they sent. So basically, they sent a ship, but it, well, was lost. Well, it exploded, for lack. It was destroyed
Where? My
in the
condolences, but
Bajorn.
what?
As she says, leaving the Bajoran system. So far, we've been able to manage or to rule out sabotage. We treat those ships very carefully, but uh, she just shrugs. We're doing everything we can. Starfleet has.
Have you ruled
Uh,
out pilot error?
did you say pilot error?
Yes.
We have their logs. That we don't have anything that appears um, malicious or in error. But
Well, they
we're
didn't intentionally blow up the ship, presumably. What
no, of
what
course.
caused the explosion?
That's what we're trying to ascertain. It was only 18 hours ago, and well, we're still. It's been all hands on deck.
Have you recovered the ship?
It's
This is my Lieutenant Commander Lawson, my first officer.
there's well met, I'm sure. You hear, but she says, um, there's truly not enough of the ship left to recover.
Um, Pleasure to meet you, although it's under these unfortunate circumstances. But has anything related to the computers or the ship's black box been obtained at all? I'd like to get a copy of anything you could have. Even though we're so far away, there may be additional insight I can provide.
She says, I'll pass that request along, um, to Captain Kira of Deep Space Nine, but that's not a decision I can make.
What is
I
the
understand.
protocol? I just want to quickly get a Starfleet protocol check. How much can I tell them about an ongoing mission? Can I, if I were to relay specific details of my first contact mission that I am currently running to the Vedic Assembly, more so than I've already gotten permission from my captain, uh, is that a problem? Like, if I
Well,
tell
I
them
would
about,
I would say it's a judgment call. I would say regulation wise, you're in the clear. Whether or not you want to bring that to them would be a personal judgment call on your part.
okay, all right. And this particular Vedic, are they like? Does it seem like they're high enough in the chain of command that I can that I should be imparting this information directly? Like, is this like a secretary, or am I talking to someone on the Vedic Council?
Okay, I get what you mean. Best way to put it, it is a Vedic. They're not on the Vedic Council. They work directly with the Kai. So it would almost be like it wouldn't be the vice president, but it would be the chief of staff, for lack of a
Oh,
better
all right, all right. So
or
I'm going to say,
deputy.
understand Vedic. I am in the midst of a first contact mission with a lost Bajoran colony, and I suspect, based on what I have encountered today, that there may be the real possibility that there has been intervention to prevent the Vedic from getting here. And if you need information to reignite interest in sending me assistance, just tell the Kai this. I've never been to Bajor, and today I encountered an orb. Are we clear?
That gets her attention. Um, as you see her eyes widen a little bit, she says, "Trust the prophets. Attempt. I'll I'll redouble my efforts immediately.
I need
I'll
someone
try
who
to
can
make your
provide me with uh, expertise in aspects of theology that I do not personally possess. And the sooner that I can get that support, soon I would appreciate it. Thank you, Vedic.
Uh, yes, Captain," she says, almost kind of looking at you mystified, a little mystified. And she says, "I'll take the case to the Kai immediately."
Thank you. Sesh out.
And as the communications slip off and we hit back to the actual ready room, it leaves the three of you in the office.
We've got, I think, about 2 hours now for people to check in with departments and maybe find out what's going on. But I do want to reassemble in the transporter room at that time. We're going to continue our away mission, and is there anything else?
No, Cap.
Thank you, Doctor. Commander, dismissed.
Um, yeah, Jill's gonna actually stay seated until the doctor leaves the room. It's clear that she's got something else on her mind.
When the doctor leaves, Desesh kind of like leans back uh, and just like that, it seems like he gets a little bit more casual once it's just the two of them, and uh, something on your mind, number one?
With a long sigh. I didn't want to bring it up before the mission, but before we left for the planet, but now's a better time than any. I just keep in mind I did not ask for him to come, and he didn't ask for permission either. But once I explained what had happened to my father, he took it upon himself, and he's going to be here in about a week.
Any chance that the two of you might gallivant off on some sort of adventure?
Fair.
He might try, but no. I'm
Well,
firmly affixed to my duty. He'd have to pull me away if anything. I don't think he would,
I
though.
appreciate the heads up. You, of course, have permission to have your guest on board. C- and you can take whatever steps are necessary to make sure that the rendezvous goes smoothly.
Thank you. And there is one other point. Jill leans forward, elbows on the desk. Are you going to tell Santos, or am I?
What do we tell them?
Well,
I don't
as
particularly
far
intend.
as far as any official action, there's very little we can do. he literally talking them off the ship. There's as I said, there's nothing we can do about that legally speaking. However, it is a pretty big breach of protocol, and their method was very disrespectful to the current commander of the ship and the rest of the crew.
I'm not going to argue with you, Lieutenant Commander, but I think we've already noticed that there is something of a informal understanding regarding Commander Desesh, or sorry, Commander Arif, whatever his actual title may be. He seems to be given certain privileges that I'm not particularly inclined to wrestle with at this particular moment. And I don't particularly want to get Nira in trouble, even if I am upset.
But if the
I'd
point
like
is,
to,
if they feel that they can just up and leave with barely a note, does that mean that they won't do it at any other point in time? And we meet a critical situation where their presence, at least the captain and the doctor, would have, well, quite frankly, saved the day.
I'm not pretending I'm not angry, Jill. I just, I believe that this situation might be better handled interpersonally. I want, I want to look Nira in the eye and understand why this particular situation came about before I tell command.
I believe it was clear enough from the records we saw in the med bay. But if you want to sit on it and wait, she shrugs, then I'll wait too. But it's not going ignored, and it's sure as hell not going silent.
Certainly not, Jill, and you will, I'm sure, have the opportunity to vent your spleen when the time comes. But I don't want to bring the admiral to this now. I think that this is something that needs to be handled so that there is an understanding between us. We're a family here, and we're keeping this in the family.
She nods after a moment. I understand, as much as I don't like it, but we'll play it that way for now.
Thank you. I don't I don't know what these visions mean. I don't I don't know what to think about the destruction of the Vedic ship. It could very easily be an act of God's.
Yeah, that's why I asked for any information that they had. Maybe having our eyes on it might have helped.
Please pursue that as much as you can through official channels. Vedics don't
Will do.
generally Vedics don't generally investigate crashes. I'm sure that the Federation has people on this.
Oh, without a doubt. Anything outside of the Bajor system would fall under Starfleet's authority. I'll follow
You
up and check.
can. Thank you, and I'll see you in 2 hours.
She nods. 2 hours. And she'll stand up and leave.
Alrighty, and as the lieutenant and the commander branch off to go spend those 2 hours, we'll flip us back to the shuttle where we do have Arif, Nira, and oh, is it Dr. Third Wheel?
Dr. Third Wheel.
But as Arif has, well, quite frankly accomplished his mission, and uh as you guys are kind of on the return trip, leaving Nira on the sick bay bed for just a moment, he's gonna motion to Vanderveer and say, "Excuse me, doctor, if I could speak to you for a moment."
You better have more than a moment. The statue's looking at me.
Laughing, chuckling a little bit, he says, "That statue actually used to, well, let's just say when you've got a history as long as our people's, we've gone through quite a number of religions, and, well, that was one of our laughing gods, Felix. We used to design statues to do that specifically as well." He kind of smiles a little bit, pranks for outsiders, the follies of youth.
Oh, that's not an optical illusion. They did that on Earth for generations. You get the impression. So no, that thing moved.
It didn't
That
move,
just
Doc.
here. Hey, stand here in the creepy library with the books. Don't worry about the statue.
Doctor, please. I'm sorry that your time in my warehouse was upsetting, but I assure you, I assure you that statue is simply an optical illusion. A very well built one, but it is quite inanimate. Much like the book.
Yeah, sorry about the book.
No, it was understandable, and you know what? Well, quite frankly, I'm a little happy that Felix has gone out of fashion quite some eons ago because, well, that type of misunderstanding happens a lot more than you would think. And, well, quite frankly, Doctor, you gave me a bit of a nostalgia hit there, so I appreciate it.
Now, in that book, they had a interesting section on Elorian longevity.
They did, which is why I've packed the book with me and in this ship for, well, when we get back to the Nightingale, I'm going to be sending this ship away. I don't bring it out much simply because I'd like to keep its existence, well, as unknown as possible. But, well, I was hoping that you would take that book. If you're uncomfortable with it being a gift, then perhaps.
No, I'll take the book, but I guess more what I wanted to know is what do you want me to do with the book?
Uh, Shrugging, he says, "I want you to have it as a token of my thanks. I didn't. Nero picked that book randomly as a distraction."
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, when someone's been around as long as you have, you kind of know how people are going to work. So I don't really buy the random thing. And I mean, look at me. I'm a doctor. I'm in the prime of my life.
You're not even
I've got a
well.
whole nother half of it ahead of me. And you just seem to be getting awful wistful for an old timer like yourself.
And you think I have ulterior mission or motive in giving you this book?
Yeah, absolutely.
I assure you, I don't. I've I live this book, Doctor.
Well, yeah, it's a medical book. Everyone alive lives something in this book.
That is correct. No, doctor, simply I I hope you'll take it as a token of a budding friendship, and if not, then at the very least, I hope that you'll see it as a interesting curiosity that you can, well, if it doesn't deserve a pedestal, then at least hopefully a shelf as opposed to a dark box.
So
Adequate
you don't
price.
have any interest at all in negligible senescence.
Extended life? Is that what that means?
No, it means a biological absence of aging, that something will continue to thrive under ideal perfect conditions.
Smiling gently a little bit, he says, I told you, doctor, I lived that book. I don't. It's a book on me, on Nira. Maybe it can help bridge your understanding. I don't care what you do with that book, doctor, as long as, well, hopefully you don't willingly destroy it. It is a piece of Elorian history after all, and as you saw, there's certainly finite.
Okay. If you say so, Commander.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Okay. And with mission accomplished, Arif says, well, I guess let's go check on our patients. I'm assuming even, I'm assuming she'll be sorry.
She's she's probably sitting up on the bed with Ari kind of going around in a circle on the bed.
And as the two of you walk in there, Arif starts to walk towards the bed, but about halfway there, he kind of just stops a little bit and just kind of stands there with his hands behind his back.
Right, since when did you need an invitation? Anyway, so I suppose it's time to get back.
Yep, we should be there in approximately 2 hours. Just a quick little sojourn.
Eh, fair enough. Yeah. She's just kind of made. She's making grunting noises, but she's basically guiding Ari in the circle, kind of like getting a dog to chase the tail.
Um,
Is there something you wanted?
just to make sure that you weren't wanting for anything.
I could go for something to eat. You got a replicator here? Can I get you anything? Onion bagel, cream cheese, slice of Polish ham?
Oh! Arif thinks, suddenly realizing that he's a little hungry too. Uh, what would you like, Mira? He asks as he gives himself more time to think.
Just a just an espresso would be fine, thank you.
Um, to which Arif says, I haven't eaten anything all day. Could I have let's see here. I should probably start with the chocolate. Oh, I'm sorry, a cheddar omelet.
You should
And
probably go
with the
with
fruit
him.
cup.
You should probably go with him because you're probably going to overload him, you black hole of a man.
Get rid of me already? Fine. Let's go, Doc. And
She just rolls her eyes and chuckles a bit. Pain in the ass.
and let's go to 2 hours and 7 minutes later because I know we're getting a little late. And as Disesh and Jill and Hakiri and Jara and Jaro and Molly kind of all kind of gather together in the transporter room. Just before Disesh, well, I'm sorry, just before everyone can kind of climb onto the transporter room, uh, suddenly the pad activates through no fault of the Nightingale, and along in swirling columns of light come Arif, Morgana, and Vanderveers.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking a moment to recognize what just happened, Jill is definitely has a look of not being pleased on her face.
Yo looks pissed.
Okay.
Arif looks happy.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, did you three have fun?
No, it's
Yes.
terrible.
To Vanderveer's no, Arif simply says yes. Quite
He's got a set of inertial dampeners that are probably older than the Federation on that damn thing.
Just so we're clear, permission to come aboard.
She just sighs and says, "Right. Permission to come aboard."
We're already aboard.
that's what I was thinking.
She
Doc.
raises an eyebrow and nods, but keeps going with it.
Well, you guys don't seem jolly, Arif says. Did something happen down there?
If you're not going down to the planet, please clear the pad.
She moves out of the way,
Uh,
and she'll make a note in her head, like, "All right."
Doctor,
Arif
you're
Yeah, sorry. I don't have control of my token, so.
Arif will just hop down off the pad.
Vanderveer just stands there. Why did you guys want me to go down? It wouldn't be the weirdest place I've gone today.
yes, Doctor. Please join the away team. Energize.
Oh. Good luck, Arif calls, and as the room temperature suddenly drops about 12.7 degrees,
What is
the
the 47 thing?
the
Anyway.
I'm sorry, the four beam down, leaving the two, and as the world sprinkles to non-existence for at least four of them, Arif
She says to Arif in the transporter room.
shrugging, Arif says, "They're good people. They'll get over it." And well, I had a good day. And with that, I think we will call it for the day. As next week we get into the lore, the prophecy, and the scrolls of Bahara.